Today I want to preview Texas Longhorns football for the 2019 season. Yeah, I know. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today, I want to preview Texas Longhorns football, and I plan to do that with the Athletics Texas Longhorn beat writer, Kaelen Jones. That's coming up in a little bit. Asked for him to give me an assist on this, and he was very kind. So really great conversation where we talked about Jake Smith, Jordan Whittington. I thought I was asking questions that Texas Longhorns fans and people who are just interested in what Texas is doing would want to know. And as a dude that, that's correct. I'm always going to be interested in what those guys are doing because you always want to know. Or you don't. And if you didn't, you wouldn't have clicked on this video. You wouldn't want to listen to what I have to say about it, and more to the point, what Kaelen Jones has to say about it. But first thing is, I like Sam Ehlinger. I think the dude's cool. I got to talk to him for a very brief amount of time while at Big 12 Media Days, and the dude impressed me. And the more I learn about him as an individual, the more I am impressed by him. From losing his father to an Ironman triathlon and how he bounced back from that, coming out of Westlake, going to Texas, unseating Shane Buechele, who, by the way, was not a terrible quarterback. He wasn't very good, but he's also Destiny's quarterback. And that, even having that moniker, it was going to be difficult for Sam to knock him off. And going into the last season, when he threw those 2 picks against Maryland, especially that last one that he forced, it looked like, it's time to fold. Or he was ready to fold. And come to find out, he was. And Tom Herman had his back. And Tom Herman said, "This is my guy. You are my guy." And his teammates rallied around him. And that dude scored 41 touchdowns last year. All right. He was a battering ram on third downs. I still think that he's maybe a couple of concussions away from not playing anymore. But he has very clearly become the talisman for Texas football. And after a year where it started off bad, they got doubled up by Maryland. Who does that and lives to tell about it? He came back, and not only did he win a squeaker against Tulsa, he came and beat Kyler Murray and Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry. And as Texas fans are fond of pointing out, they own the series, to which I say count the Big 12 championships and count the national championships. But that's not what we're here to talk about, okay? I kind of like the relationship that has been built between Tom Herman and his quarterback. I think that's what makes that team special this year. It's Tom Herman utterly believes in Sam Ehlinger. Sam Ehlinger utterly believes in Tom Herman. They are of one mind on a lot of things, even as I don't really understand how they came to the realization that they needed one another. I can appreciate that they have each other's back, even as they've been pinatas by, yes, me, but also, man, Terry Bradshaw going at your chest. Baker Mayfield going at your chest in the same month. And yet still we got Texas Longhorns football that we got to talk about in a real way because they won 10 games. And they're ranked number 10 in the preseason coaches poll. I think that's too high. I think they're wildly overrated for a team that is very young. Now, on top of being very young, they are not inexperienced. They are just young. But young might be enough because as Herm Edwards said, there's no more propensity for having upsets than in college football because you got teenagers that are emotional and week to week. And Ehlinger is an example of that. A guy that could go throw 2 picks against Maryland and can lose a game to West Virginia, lose a game to Oklahoma State, can also beat the team that won the Big 12 championship, beat them again in the Big 12 championship for those of you that need the reminder, and play in the college football playoff, and played and beat a Heisman winner. So if you wanted to feel good about what Texas is building, you got all you need. Problem I have is that Texas fans kind of sort of get gassed up for little to no reason sometimes. But you got not just Collin Johnson returning, who was about 15 yards short of a 1,000-yard receiving season. You got John Burt coming back, and I know that Devin Duvernay is very, very fast. But I'm more excited about Jake Smith because that dude is flat out the dude when he has the ball. Punt return, kick return, catching the ball out of the backfield, playing receiver. I mean, this guy reminds me of Reggie Bush's high school film. And if all you got to do is go check out Jake Smith's huddle film when he was playing over at Chandler in Arizona, you'll see what kind of guy that we're talking about. Defensively, that's where the problem lies. You lost the entire defensive line. Don't know really what you're going to have at linebacker. You're going to have brand new corners out there, and you got competition for it. But you do return Caden Sterns, who I really, really, really like. And you got B.J. Foster and a couple other guys. But if you can hold up defensively, Todd Orlando can pull a rabbit out of a hat with that defense. Yeah, it could be good. And by the time you get to Oklahoma State in September, might be undefeated. But that LSU game is going to test you, and we'll see. And that's one of the reasons that I really wanted to bring in Kaelen Jones, who just got this beat and is very excited about being on this beat and had lots of things to say that I thought Texas fans might want to know, and anybody else getting into the story of what is Texas's season. Where do we handicap it? Where are the wins and losses? And just what do we think about the unanswered questions for which we play the game of football? All right, now let's go to Kaelen. All right, Kaelen. I'm going to jump straight into it after like a short intro. I was going to go with Kaelen Jones of The Athletic covering Texas Longhorns. Is that cool?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Works for me.
Let's get after it, dog. All right. I'm here with Texas Longhorns beat writer Kaelen Jones covering the Longhorns for The Athletic. Kaelen, how you doing, dog?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Nah, I appreciate you, man. I'm really excited about, reading your work. I've been reading the mailbags. You seem to like those things quite a bit. And, I want to ask you a bit about yourself, like, to start. So how'd you get
into, definitely.
Yeah, like, how'd you get this beat? I mean, this is a really cool beat, one. And two, The Athletic, something like 500 million subscribers or something now. Like, it's awesome.
Oh, yeah. So, I'm extremely blessed. I think, 90% of people who make it, in any type of, higher realm, I guess you could say, in journalism, sports journalism, whatever. Like, a lot of people are fortunate. And, I've been writing since I was a little kid. The inspiration for me was my older cousin, who I'm back in California for his wedding. I didn't have an older brother, and he kind of served as that role model for me. I always wanted to be like him. And growing up, he was always playing football. He was like our best athlete. Like, everyone knew who he was. Really super popular. Just this cool dude. And I always wanted to be like him. And, like when I was a kid, he would always play Madden on like the PlayStation 2. I would never be allowed to play because I was just so much younger and I wasn't good. So I'd just sit there on the couch or like his bed in his room, and I'd sit there for hours, watch him play online, watch him play franchise, just stuff like that. So I would memorize all the players' stats and attributes, everything else, and that kind of jump-started like my nerd love for football. As I grew older, like I tried playing and stuff like that, but I think if I'm lucky, I could say like I'm 5'7", 5'8". And like 130 pounds soaking wet. So I'm not an athlete. Like, I was not put on the earth to be an athlete. But I grew up also like with, love for writing too. Like, I think poetry, like citing poems, and that really inspired me when I was a little kid. And writing was always a stronger subject for me. And for me, it's just kind of been the area where I can, be fully expressive of who I am and what I intend to say when I talk. As you might notice, I kind of just say whatever's on my mind and don't really think about it, but, they got a delete button and they got whiteout and everything else with writing. So in high school, a buddy of mine, we started like a website. We had a podcast. Like, it didn't really go anywhere, but, it was cool because we were doing it. I was part of a newspaper. Then I went to college over at Arizona State, studied journalism there. Was actually out of school for a second and got really fortunate. I was working at Wingstop when I was out of school and kind of I crowdfunded my way back in. And from there, the rest is history. Like, I was working on our on-campus blog for SB Nation's House of Sparky. I ended up at our 24/7 site, which is sundoublesource.com with Chris Cartman, and had a couple internships with MLB.com, with the Angels in 2017 and the Dodgers in 2018. I got fortunate and a gig opened up at Sports Illustrated. I applied for it and got that. And Stuart Mandel, who's my boss over here at the Athletic, he had reached out to me while I was in college, or like finishing up college, to like just gauge my interest, like want to do like an internship or anything like that. And I ended up taking a gig at SI, and then a year later, when they were expanding, he reached out to me again, and the timing just worked out. So now I'm moving to Austin, or all moved in mostly.
Right on, dog.
Ahead of Texas and everything. So sorry for the rambling.
No,
there is my full backstory.
That's what I wanted. Nah, for real. Like, I had one question, just shot in the dark. Did you go through the Sports Journalism Institute?
I did not, but I know a bunch of people that have.
All right. Well, I'm one of the folks that did. So, like, when you said MLB internship, I was like, did we do that? Because I had a lot of friends that go through it. But nah, man, that's what's up. Because that's how it goes, right? It's internships, it's writing for free, and it's getting to meet people, and then people give you a phone call. Now that's what's up.
Oh yeah, it definitely takes some work. And, like, people are going to say, like, and I understand that. You know what I mean? Like, I understand how fortunate I am to be a 23-year-old working at the Athletic. Like, I am extremely, extremely, extremely fortunate. But, it's not to say I don't work hard, I just haven't had the same path that everyone else has had. So, again, it'd be different if I was arrogant and was like, yeah, I deserve it, Like,
Hey, dog.
Hundreds of great writers out there.
I'm a 31-year-old sports talk show host with my name on the marquee. If anybody understands where you're coming from, it's me. All right? You just do the best you can with what you got, and you try to make it happen.
Hey,
like, I started out
exactly, man,
staring at my phone, making these sorts of videos and whatnot. Now, we doing this. So I get it, dog. I wanted to ask you, though, switching, like, hard switch to the Longhorns.
All good.
A few questions. I'm trying to be succinct about them, but who do you think is the first off the bench if Sam Ehlinger gets hurt?
Ooh, that is a good hard switch. Man. So, look I can always speak from what I've seen.
Yeah.
During the spring game, it was obviously Casey Thompson, the guy who earned the most reps during the entire game to begin with. But I mean, right now, I think he is probably, the guy who you would turn to. And that's a really good question too, because I've been thinking about that too. Like, what would Texas' backup plan be? Because, and I hope, Texas fans don't rip me for it, but I like Shane Buechele. Like, I thought he was a solid quarterback. I mean, he doesn't fit the type of the prototype that does well in Tom Herman's offense, but I think he's okay for a college quarterback. So at first, I remember, like, when Ehlinger first stepped up on the scene, I was like, man, this guy is actually challenged Shane Buechele for his job. And, Sam Ehlinger can ball. Like, after going back through all of Texas film, that he might have a future in the NFL playing quarterback if he keeps, playing at the level and getting better and improving. But, all that being said, going back to your point, I'd probably go with Casey Thompson right now, just because he's the most familiar. He's redshirt a year. He's probably the most familiar with the system. Rashawn Johnson, I think he's a bigger quarterback. He probably could end up filling in there if he, proves himself during the offseason or throughout this, preseason period. But, yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I mean, it literally beats me. Like, I assume it's Casey Thompson.
Yeah, I would think so too. I mean, even with the whole controversy of going into the portal, coming out of the portal, you lost Cam Rising in Utah. I don't expect Rashawn Johnson to do anything other than signal in the play this year. I don't know about the dude's arm, but then again, I don't know about Sam Ehlinger's arm. So, and getting to talk to him just a bit at Big 12 Media Days, he won my respect, if nothing else, just in the way that he's carried himself and what he's gone through to keep this job. That's mostly what it's about for me is, like, I look at him and I look at Jake Fromm at Georgia, I'd be like, for dudes that we keep saying ain't very talented, they run off some talented dudes.
Yeah, they have. Like you mentioned, Fromm running off, Justin Fields. And then again, like I was saying, Shane Buechele, like, they can swing it. Right. And especially Justin Fields. Like, he's a top recruit.
Right. And before Justin Fields, Jacob Eason. He's going to start at Washington this year.
Yeah, he's come up to Washington. Yep. So, yeah. And I think there's a lot that goes into that, too. And sorry for Rand. But
no, go for it.
The type of the psyche and mental makeup And I was telling somebody that at media days, like, he just has the poise, and I don't know how else to explain that. He kind of has the aura that, you know, he gets what he gets where he's at. He understands the magnitude of his position. He understands, you know, like he's the face of Texas football. And I think he accepts that and kind of, I don't know what flipped, again, because I wasn't there when, you know, you obviously had the quarterback battle. And then even last year, like opening up against Maryland and, you know, going through that tough loss. And I don't know what the conversation behind the scenes between Herman and Sam Ehlinger was like, but for, you know, Herman, number one, to go out there and support him right off the bat, to back him. I mean, that's really cool, first of all, to have that type of support. But again, like Sam Ehlinger's just mental makeup, when you look at who he is as a human being and where he's come from to this point, you know, that he's super rare and he's a different dude. And you know, again, I can always say that because I don't know how much equity I have in saying that because I've only talked to the dude once in my life, but he has a very different poise and standing than any of the other players that were around there that day. And that includes all the other schools. So he's got something different about him.
Well, I mean, something different about him, and it makes it real easy to segue into the next question is, how much will Jake Smith impact the game? Because, I mean, that's a dude that I feel like you might have had eyes on. He's from Arizona, and every time I watch the dude, I mean, he has an opportunity to take one back to the house in the way that we talked about Reggie Bush having a way to take one to the house. I mean, the way that people talk about Christian McCaffrey. Like, he's got speed, he's got burst, he's got angles, and he is so cocky.
Hey, man, and, you know, he should be. You know why? Because, like, my thing is I always tease my friend who's covering the Angels. He's from Arizona. He went to Chandler High School, where I think Brady Liverock, the tight end's from. And I tease him all the time. Like, Arizona, what has Arizona done for football? You know, I tease him all the time. Like, what, you know, it's on the level. The high school level is not the same as California. It's not even the same as Texas. I'm
gonna check you real quick and say Spencer Rattler's kind of that dude.
No, yeah. Oh no. I saw Spencer Rattler live.
Okay,
I saw him live. I've seen Chandler High School live.
Okay,
so I was like, I tease him because he's from Chandler. It's a powerhouse. They have McKeel area. Dave Lucas. Yeah, no, they've got some studs.
Purdy comes out here, right?
Friendly Barb.
Doesn't Purdy?
Yeah. Correct. Yep, and Terrell Suggs.
Right.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Right.
No, there's a few. It's just a friendly bar. You know what I mean? But this dude, Jake Smith, man, like you're saying, he's different. He is different. Like, and I haven't seen him live yet, but I've seen his film. And like you're saying, just the quickness, the quick twitchability and the ability to change direction, especially for college players, I think that's just so hard. You know, and you mentioned like Reggie Bush, Christian McCaffrey, guys who are just absolute playmakers once they get the ball in their hands. I mean, Sam Ehlinger likes him. I mean, everyone seems to be talking about him at media days. So I think it's definitely going to translate to the next level. Whether he's immediately involved in the offense, I don't know. I think that Joshua Moore is a solid player, if not a talented player. And I think the role that you're going to be required to play in that kind of H role is you're going to have to, one, comprehend the offense, to understand all the different movements. And again, like, I haven't been a part of the program, but I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of different option routes where you as a receiver have to be able to diagnose the defense almost as well as the quarterback. Well, maybe not as well as the quarterback, but you have to understand and be on the same page in order to get open and stuff like that. So I think there's going to be a lot that goes into it. I don't want to say he's going to make an immediate, major impact. I think he will factor into the field. I don't want to say he's going to overtake Joshua Moore right off the bat, though, because I think, he suffered an injury towards the end of last season where he wasn't able to finish it out. But what I saw against USC in particular, I think that he's going to defend his chance at starting in this offense, and I think he fits the role pretty well too.
No, that's good. No, that was a good answer. Next question was along the same lines of how much will Jordan Whittington impact the game?
Oh man, so you're the first person I think I've gotten to talk to about Jordan Whittington.
Okay, all right, let me have it then.
So let me tell you, man, when I first got this gig, or when I even first, thought it was a possibility, first thing I did was, look in YouTube. I'm like, Texas spring game. And so, like, I was only half paying attention. I can't even lie. Like, I was doing dishes. And I looked up, and, big 21 flanks out wide. And then, like, he didn't even get the ball in the play. But he runs like a go route, and he just jukes by Jalen Green. It only took, like, one step. And I'm like, that's an NFL player. And then 2 minutes later, Ahmad Rhodes and Lowell, the commentators for the game, they're talking about this guy being a true freshman. I'm like, oh my God, that kid is a monster. He's going to be a monster. I don't know, again, like, it's kind of like a Jake Smith thing. I don't know if he's going to be immediately impactful. I think he's going to have a role. Like, he'll have a more significant role off the bat than Jake Smith, but he's going to get around, I think I wrote about that in the mailbag, like 8 to 15 touches is probably where you can expect it. I think a lot of people are expecting more, but my comparison, which is what I did in the mailbag, like I looked at, 2016 Ohio State, because back then they had Mike Weaver, who kind of profiles similar to Keontae Ingram, where you have a bell cow back who, Keontae can flank out wide. He's a very talented receiver out backfield. But again, you're not going to, use him as creatively and ship him around like Curtis Samuel was, who I compared Jordan Whittington to, in this setting. Again, like he's someone that you can flank out wide, shift around, do different things with him in the backfield, and he's going to have a role. I'm very high on it. I talked to someone else, who's a part, of UT, and he was saying, yeah, he's an NFL player, and I agree, fully agree. He's going to be an NFL player one day. It'll be interesting to see how, Tim Beck and Tom Herman work him into the offense immediately, because he could serve a role. And I'm pretty sure Jake Smith will too, but Jordan Whittington is someone I'm really excited about too.
So, last question about the offense. John Burton is getting basically a 5th year. And I wonder, we haven't really spoken about this. I don't think anybody's really spoken about this, but that could be a really great weapon for Ehlinger as he lost L.J. Humphrey. And I know everybody has got the book on Collin Johnson right now. So what do you think?
So, definitely Burt. He's a former sprinter, right? Or he was competing in the 4x1s or some type of track event.
He's fast. He's real fast.
Yeah, he's a speedster. And I don't think anyone really knows this. Like, Texas ranked extremely highly, in terms of deep passes, even though, at least in connecting on them, like passed over 20 yards, even though they didn't ever break for, huge games. I wrote about that. That play too. Like they didn't hit on 40, 50-yard plays. Like, it was non-existent. It did not happen. Like, the home run plays weren't happening.
No explosive plays.
Behind West Virginia was Texas. I think West Virginia had 17 touchdowns over 20 yards through the air, and then Texas was second with 10 in the Big 12. So they were hitting on bigger plays, just not home runs. I think when you look at the weapons that they have at receiver, man, like Malcolm Epps, who's going to probably, back up Collin Johnson, kind of in that X role. As far as, like, splitting opposite of him, again, and you got Devin Duvernay, who's an absolute speedster. I think I was watching some text video, like, someone compared him to Golden Tate. And I just laughed, because, he could have that kind of effect for, Texas too. But I don't know. I don't know if Burt would factor in. Again, like, I haven't been there yet. So,
okay. No, and that's fair.
I haven't been to practice and stuff yet, but from what I've seen, based on how they were lining up back in the spring, and from what I've read, I'm not sure if he'll factor in, but dude, if they come up with creative ways to get these fast guys to football, they're going to. And Tom Herman respects that. He mentioned that, like, yards after the catch is not something that they excelled in last year. That's something that should improve this year, especially when you have, Jordan Whittington, Jake Smith, joining your offense. So they'll find ways to do it.
So, moving to the other side of the ball, the hell are they going to do on the defensive line? Because, like, they weren't great last year, and they don't return anybody. So, like, feel like a lot of people going to have their way with that defensive line this year.
It's going to be interesting. I'm kind of concerned because they don't really have a true pass rusher. Charles Omenihu breaking out for them was just so massive, So massive, because he was their sack producer. Like, you had someone who you could consistently rely on to put pressure on the quarterback. I don't know if they really have that this year. Malcolm Roach, good player. I think he's more of a run stuffer, though. They're going to need either, Taquan Graham to take that next step as a pass rusher and be that guy, or they need Jacoby Jones to transfer to emerge as a great pass rusher, too. And during the spring game, he flashed some of that, and I thought he looked pretty good. But in terms of the interior, though, Keontae Coburn, I like what he showed on tape. I know that he's going into his redshirt freshman season, but from what I saw, he's going to be a problem, especially for a lot of those Big 12 centers to plug up in the middle, and especially in terms of disrupting the run, which, is something that Todd Orlando and Tom Herman, from what I've read, they place a really strong emphasis on, which is, limiting offenses from being able to establish a run game. I mean, you're in the Big 12. For me, I'm coming from the Pac-12, and just as a national observer, I have, the Big 12, to me, has a reputation for being a gunslinging, pass-happy conference. So I think that's going to be the biggest issue, is where you kind of find and muster up this kind of consistent pass rush. Because, it's going to be an issue when you're facing teams like Oklahoma and Oklahoma State and West Virginia. Like, if you cannot get after, even Baylor, with Charlie Brewer, is arguably the best quarterback in the conference. Like, it's going to be an issue unless they find, like, a pass rusher who can consistently get after the quarterback along that front line. But they have other ways to manufacture it, too. Because Todd Orlando, like the Lightning package, which I just learned about literally a few days ago, I didn't realize there was a reason why Texas had 6 DBs on the field. I thought that was just their base personnel.
Well, it became their base personnel.
Yeah, it did.
It had to become their base personnel.
Yeah, because they're not generating pass rush, so you have to kind of sag back and have an extra defender who, has speed on the field. And I think if either Jacoby Jones, Paul Graham, or even if Malcolm Roach just, suddenly becomes this great pass rusher, which I'm not going to hedge on, but if they could have one of those guys really emerge as someone who could provide pressure, at some type of basis, they desperately need that going into this year.
Last question. We are recording this on the day that the preseason USA Today Amway coaches poll dropped. Texas is ranked at 10. How do you feel about the ranking? Do you think that that's where they need to be? Do you think that's where they will end? Or do you think maybe people are still underrating Texas, as hard as that is to believe?
I think it's about right, especially when you consider how they finished last year. And it kind of puts you on the hinge. It's kind of a perfect spot, in my opinion, really, because the question is Texas back? Are they a top 10 team? I think they've solidified themselves as being a top 15 talent. It just hasn't manifested itself on the field this year again. And Tom Herman mentioned this. They were ahead of schedule. And when you look at the record, they were pretty darn lucky in a lot of games. But, hey, I mean, a win is a win. And they went 7-3 in one score games, so they found ways to win. And I think that's important, especially for a young group that, people will say is inexperienced. There's relative experience. They're just young. So, and the thing is, watching these guys fly around, this is coming from someone who, and this is no disrespect to Arizona State, but I mean, from top to bottom, looking at the talent on the roster is completely different. So I think, just having gone through what I've gone through a little bit in terms of the depth chart being 1, 2, 3 deep, I think, Texas, even if they're not experienced, they're going to be able, just simply because of how talented a lot of these kids are, like they're going to be able to compete and push, a lot of these top teams. And when you look at the offense, again, when you have a quarterback like Sam Ehlinger and you have weapons like Collin Johnson, Keontae Ingram, Devin Duvernay, Jordan Whittington, Jake Smith, like there's reason, and we didn't even talk about the offensive line. Like they should have a top 15 offensive line this year, all things considered. Like there's a lot of potential here. And again, I don't want to blow smoke up Texas football fans, like butts or anything, but like there's a reason why I think the national audience and national media is gravitating towards that narrative, because this is a pretty pivotal year. Even if they're ahead of schedule, this kind of last year you could say laid the foundation, but this is year 3 where Tom Herman's philosophy is games of kids. They're all in the program now. Like, this is his program. This is going to be, like, I think the first year where you can say, like, you know, it's going under his direction fully. So we'll see. I think that they definitely have potential to finish as a top 10 team, so I don't have any problem with it.
That is Kaelen Jones of the Skinny Ankle Big Calf Flex Body Athletic, covering the Texas Longhorns. Hey, man, congratulations on the gig, and I hope to check in with you later on this season.
Hey, thanks, RJ. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man.